Well, hello and welcome to the special Christmas episode of Flesh and Blood Ultimate Pit Fight, where we'll be playing some season appropriate decks to get us in the holiday spirit. So we have Stanislav on Icelander to set the winter mood, Tomislav on Squeezy and Fluff because it's just Santa and Rudolph, Stanislav on Melody because what's Christmas without a little song, and I'll be playing Reinar, who's the Grinch trying to steal Christmas, but will he succeed? Let's find out. And looks like Santa Claus has the first move. Tomislav puts a counter on his Find Down Spring Tunic and puts one card in his arsenal and ends his turn, passing it over to me. I play a red barraging beatdown, and I intimidate Stanislav, removing a card from his hand until the end of the turn. I pitch a blue card and pay 2 resources to attack Stanislav with the yellow Wrecker Romp with 7 attack power, and as an additional cost, I discard the last card in my hand, which is Beast Within, and because of its effect I banish the top card of my deck, and I lose a life. And since the banish card doesn't have 6 or more attack power, I do it again. And this one has, so it goes to my hand. And I again intimidate Stanislav, losing him one more card. He blocks 6 damage with 2 cards from his hand, so Wrecker Romp doesn't get any additional attack power. And he takes 1 damage. I set a card in my arsenal and end my turn. At the start of his turn, Stanislav gets a Cracked Bauble from Squeezy, and Squeezy gets a Gong token. Stanislav pitches the Cracked Bauble, paying 2 resources to play the Blue Ice Bong, dealing 3 arcane damage to me. And he pitches another card, paying 2 resources to use Waning Moon's instant effect, dealing 2 arcane damage to Stanislav. Since Stanislav has multiple non-rune equipments, he pitches a blue card and pays 2 resources, preventing the 2 arcane damage. And I also pitch a card to pay 1 resource to prevent 1 arcane damage with my singular non-rune equipment. And I take 2 damage. And with that, Stanislav ends his turn, passing it over to Stanislav. He pitches a blue card, paying 3 resources to activate Jinglewood's effect. He gives Tomislav a Quicken token and he gets a Copper token. He plays Song of Sweet Nectar, so each hero gains a life. And because he played a song, he gains 3 more Copper tokens with Melody's effect. He puts a card in his arsenal and ends his turn, passing it over to Tomislav. He plays Coax a Commotion from his arsenal and attacks me with it with 4 attack power. I block 4 damage with Apex Bonebreaker and Edge on Windup, so I also gain a Might token. And since he has Go Again from the Quicken token, he also attacks Stanislav with Wounding Blow with 4 attack power. Stanislav doesn't block and takes 4 damage. He puts a card in his arsenal and ends his turn. At the start of my turn I gain a Cracked Bauble and Tomislav gains a Gong token. I pitch the Cracked Bauble and I play Rawhide Rumble from my arsenal. I use its Beat Chest effect, discarding an attack action with 6 or more attack power, and I intimidate Tomislav twice. And I attack him with 7 attack power. He blocks 4 damage with 2 cards from his hand and he takes 3 damage. I put a card in my arsenal and end my turn. At the start of Stanislav's turn, he and Tomislav exchange a Cracked Bauble for a Gong token. First he plays Amulet of Ice. He pitches a blue card and pays 3 resources to play Ether Icewane, the blue one, which deals 3 arcane damage to Stanislav. And he pitches the Cracked Bauble to use Waning Moon's instant effect to deal 2 arcane damage to me. Stanislav pays 3 resources to prevent the damage and I take 2 damage. He puts a card in his arsenal and ends his turn. Stanislav plays Life of the Party from his arsenal and he discards Crazy Brute to pay its resource cost. And he attacks Tomislav with 6 attack power, Go Again, and he gains 2 life if it hits. Tomislav blocks 3 damage with a card from his hand and he takes 3 damage. So Stanislav gains 2 life. He puts a card in his arsenal and ends his turn. At the start of his turn, Tomislav finally remembers to put a counter of Find Down Spring Tunic. And he attacks me with the red scar for a scar with 4 attack power. I decide not to block and I take 4 damage. And as Tomislav was about to end his turn, I discard Edge on Windup to create an agility token at instant speed. And also at instant speed, Stanislav uses the effect of his Storm Striders, paying a resource to play a wizard non-attack action card as an instant. So he pitches another card to pay 3 resources for Ether Icewane, and this time he fuses it. And he deals 5 arcane damage to me, and I have to discard a card unless I pay 2 resources. I take 5 arcane damage, I discard Beast Within, so I banish the top card of my deck and lose a life. And the banish card has 6 or more attack power, so it goes to my hand. And he also uses the instant effect of Amulet of Ice. again forcing me to discard a card unless I pay 2 resources, and I choose to discard a card. At the start of my turn I get a cracked bauble in exchange for some gold. I pitch the cracked bauble and pay 2 resources for bare fangs. I draw a card and discard a random card, and it has 6 or more attack power, so bare fangs gains +2 attack power. So I attack Stanislav with 8 attack power. Stanislav chooses not to block and he takes 8 damage. I use the instant effect of Barkbone Strapping, destroying it and rolling a 6-sided die. It lands on 4, so I gain 2 resources. And I pay them to play another Bare Fangs. And I discard another card with 6 or more attack power, so I attack Stanislav with 8 attack power again, and he doesn't block and takes 8 damage. And I end my turn and pass it over to Stanislav. And since he has no cards in hand, he just passes turn. And for his turn, Stanislav plays Starting Stake, which creates him a gold token since he doesn't control any. And since he doesn't have go again, that ends his turn. Tomislav uses one of his gold tokens, paying 2 resources to draw a card. And he does it again. And he does it again by paying his 2 floating resources. He pitches a card to pay 1 resource and attacks me with Bingo with 5 attack power. I block it with my head and arm equipment and a card from my hand, and I gain a Might token. And that ends Tomislav's turn. At the start of my turn I get a cracked bauble. I pitch it and pay 1 resource for Bonebreaker Bellow, and I use B Chest, discarding a card with 6 or more attack power, to give my next brute attack this turn +3 attack power, and I intimidate Tomislav with Reinar's effect. And I pitch another card to pay 2 resources to attack Tomislav with Romping Club, which, when everything is added up, attacks with 9 attack power. He blocks 3 damage with a card from his hand, and plays the instant Reinforce the Lines, which gives it +4 more defense. So he blocks for 7 and takes 2 damage. And I end my turn passing it over to Stanislav. He gets a cracked bauble, plays Encase and fuses it, dealing 3 arcane damage to Tomislav, and he pitches the bauble to use Waning Moon to deal 2 arcane damage to me. I pay 1 resource to prevent 1 damage, so I take 1, and Tomislav takes 3 damage, and his hero and equipment is frozen. And Stanislav passes turn to Stanislav, and he attacks Tomislav with Wage Gold with 7 attack power, pitching 3 red cards to pay 3 resources. Tomislav blocks 5 damage and takes 2, and because Wage Gold hit, Stanislav gains a gold token. He puts a card in his arsenal and ends his turn. Tomislav passes turn, and at the end of his turn, I discard Age on Windup to create an agility token. At the start of my turn I gain a bauble.
Gotcha, bitch!
I pitch a card and pay 2 resources to play Wrecker Romp, attacking Tomislav with it with 8 attack power. And as an additional cost I discard a random card, and it has 6 or more attack power, so I also intimidate him. He blocks 8 damage with 3 cards from his hand, and one of them is Finedown's Fighting Spirit, so he gains a life. And since I have go again, I pitch the cracked bauble and attack Tomislav with my Romping Club, with 5 attack power. He doesn't block and takes 5 damage. And I end my turn. Stanislav gets a bauble at the start of his turn, and pitches it to pay 2 resources for Polar Cap. And he deals 4 arcane damage to Stanislav. And he ends his turn. Stanislav pitches a card and pays 2 resources for a gold token to draw a card, and he does it again. And he's left with 2 resources floating. And he pays 1 resource to attack Tomislav with Final Act, which now has 5 attack power. Tomislav blocks 3 damage, and Stanislav uses the instant card Ice Eternal, using Spellfire Cloak to gain a resource, and pitches 3 blue cards, giving him 10 resources. He pays 8 of them for Ice Eternal, and he also fuses it, and with the remaining 2 resources, he uses Waning Moon, and directs all that arcane damage to me, which is 7 in total. I pay a resource to prevent 1 of that damage, and I take 6 damage, which eliminates me from the game. I guess nobody will be stealing Christmas this year, and since there are now 3 more cards in the pitch zones, Final Act goes up to 11 attack power, and Stanislav uses the attack reaction of Snapdragon Scalers to gain go again. Tomislav gains a bunch of damage and is eliminated from the game as well, so I guess Santa won't be coming this year either. Stanislav breaks the chain and pays 1 resource for Encore, which gets Final Act back to his hand. He pitches 2 cards to use his Copper token to draw a card, and pitches it to attack Stanislav with Final Act, which, if my math is correct, has 17 attack power. and Styles now blocks 2 of that damage, so he only goes down to -13, enough to eliminate him from the game. So it looks like we won't even have a white Christmas. But at least we'll have songs and dances galore, since the winner of this ultimate pit fight is Melody. And there you have it, folks. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and until next time, have a Merry Christmas. Bye!